Hey everyone, it's Ed Gutowski. What I want to do in this video is I wanted to create a lecture that reviews the rules for MLA. I've noticed that a lot of students have been making some errors in MLA, so I thought this would be a good chance for us to review the MLA format. And what I'd like you to do is I'd like you to follow along with this video with the handout that's listed in the module section, because the notes there that explain MLA parallel what I'll be talking about in this video. And this actually might be a good time to talk about MLA, because recently MLA has made some new changes. Some of the changes I like, some of them I don't like, and they've updated our textbook. So I know that in the spring, our textbook's going to be new and it's going to have all the new changes for MLA. So let's go ahead and take a look at MLA. MLA stands for Modern Language Association. There's actually an association that gets together every year and they set the standards for what is research for an English class. Basically, MLA is two things. It's how you do a works cited page, and it's how you do in-text citations. So notice another word you might have heard for a works cited page is bibliography. And it basically works the same way. When you turn in a works cited page, you're letting the reader know where you got your information. It's also how you do in-text citations. And basically we're just going to focus on those two things. We're going to focus on how to works cite various sources and how to do proper in-text citations. So there's simple rules for MLA. It's really important that you pay attention to details. In a ground class, I tell my students MLA is very formulaic. There's no way to make MLA exciting. I could basically pour gasoline on my hair, light it on fire, and run around the room. MLA would still be boring, dull, and lifeless, and you'd probably laugh as I burned to death. But the little things matter in MLA, so it really matters where you put the periods, where you put the commas, where you put italics. So little things matter with MLA, so it's important to pay attention to details. So what we're going to do is I'm going to give you my New York Times best-selling book. And what I want to know is, how would you works cite my New York Times best-selling book? Now in the module section in Canvas, I break down the rules for how to works cite a book into like 4 really easy steps. So I want you to look at that as we kind of review my New York Times best-selling book. So here's my New York Times best-selling book. So the question is, how would we works cite this book? So what I'm going to do right now is I'm going to open up a Word document, and here's the Word document where I have all of the information. I'm going to actually copy and paste and just make this so when I have a works cited page, it should look like this, works cited. And we know the first time that I works cite a book, the first thing I look for is an author's last name. So we have the author's last name, which is my name, Gutowski, followed by a comma, followed by my first name, Edward, followed by a period. Then we know we put the title of my book. The title of my book is COVID Over Yet? I'm a terrible online instructor. I'm merely going to copy and paste it here, paste it. Titles of books we put in italics, so I'm going to italicize it. I'm going to put a period at the end. Then we put who the publisher is. So we know that the publisher is American River College Press. I come over here, copy, paste it. After that, we put a comma, and we put the year, and we put a period. So you'll notice that I put a lot of unnecessary information into this works cited page, and I do that deliberately because sometimes students like to put unnecessary information into a works cited page. It's very, very simplistic. So if I were to copy this whole thing, I'm going to put it on a fresh page on its own, because a works cited page will always be on its own. I'm just going to copy and paste it here. The title works cited should be centered. And then notice one of the things is when you do a works cited, you always indent the second line. So I'm going to highlight this. I'm going to come down here. I'm going to go into paragraphs. If it'll let me, paragraph. And I am going to do a hanging indent. Let's see if I can find hanging indent is here. I'm going to hit return. Hopefully it lets me do a hanging indent. It didn't. Let's try it again. Let's go paragraph, hanging indent. Okay, but the second line should be indented. We can hopefully just, there we go. But that's how your works cited page should look like. It's got the author's last name, first name, title of the book, italicized, the publisher with a comma, and the year it was published. So I'm going to go back to our original video here, and I'll make this a full screen again. But notice I put a lot of unnecessary information in here, and I really wanted to do that because oftentimes students like to put unnecessary information into their works cited page, and I always like to keep MLA simple and formulaic. So we'll look on to the next page. We'll just talk about in-text citations. In-text citations are easy. I use in-text citations two places. I use an in-text citation at the end of a body paragraph where I've done some research and I put it in my own words. But at the end of that body paragraph, I'm going to put an in-text citation because that way I can cover myself against plagiarism. The other place I put an in-text citation is I put an in-text citation directly after a quote. So what we're going to do is we're going to make up an imaginary quote here that's from my New York Times bestselling. It says, "Oh no, Gutowski made another canvas air." Now, if that is a quote from my book, what would the proper in-text citation be? So I'm going to give you three examples, right? We say, "Oh no, Gutowski made another canvas air." Edward Gutowski, page 100. "Oh no, Gutowski made another canvas air." Page 102. Is it Gutowski, comma 103, or is it Gutowski 104? And you should have picked, oops, sorry, I screwed that up. Let's go back. You should have picked, let me start from the side, but it's obviously the last one. I notice there's a little error here, but it's always the author of the book's last name and the number of the page. So if we were to take one other example, because this sometimes confuses people, but let's say you have a quote from my book and it says, "Donald Trump loves Gutowski's books and he says it will make Canvas great again." If we assume that page comes from 200, what would the in-text citation be? Would it be Gutowski 200, Trump 200, Gutowski page 200, or Trump 200? And again, the in-text citation would be the author's last name, Gutowski, the number of the page 200. I don't know why students sometimes see someone who's famous, but sometimes they see someone's famous and they think it's the name of that person. It's always the author of the book's last name, and then the number of the page. And so I'm going to let that settle here, and I will create a discussion board where you can put questions and concerns that you have about Canvas, about works cited. But I just kind of wanted to do a little basic review. You have some homework that's really easy. And basically what you're going to do is you're just going to create two paragraphs where you write something down, you put a quote and a proper in-text citation, and then you're going to do two works cited, you're going to do two entries on your works cited page. But the instructions are in Canvas. If you have any questions, email me. And we're just going to kind of play around. I just want to get you comfortable with MLA. I'm not expecting you to be an expert, but hopefully by the end of the class, you'll be more comfortable with MLA.